Welcome to the 21st Century Film Club. We will now be reviewing You People, released on Netflix. What did you think of the film?
I think it was okay. It was okay. It's very 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10 film for me. It had its moments. It was very heavy on the point it was trying to make, and I felt that got tiring. Not even halfway through the film, I think in the first third of the film it got very tiring, which was just trying to push the cultures in today's society, and that sort of interracial relationship and how that dynamic works in today's society, and obviously all the themes that come with it. And yeah, the jokes they were trying to, some of them were fine, some of them were good. Jonah Hill was okay. Eddie Murphy as the dad, as
Akbar.
Yeah, he was very good. But the story was just very, very medium, very. It was okay. I wouldn't want to watch it again. I felt it could have not been so on the nose with what it was trying to say. Like, we get it, okay. They kept forcing that point onto us. I was like, okay, we get it. Can you move on with the story? How about you? What did you think of the film?
I agree. I absolutely hated this film. And I also think what you said about being on the nose is really true. Can a comedy be good about racial relations whilst also being subtle, whilst also being funny, and still get a point across? And this film just went, as you said, very much in the direction of, to make a social commentary, we need to be very clear and explicit about it. To make it funny, we need to exaggerate things to the millionth degree, that it became very unrealistic. And I don't think it actually, in the end, really promoted anti-racist values effectively, in the sense that I don't think it made anyone think about a black family any better or a Jewish family any better. In fact, I think it played up to those stereotypes quite negatively under the banner of humour. And really, they kind of dished out in several scenes lots of stereotypes about Jewish people and black people, and then they were like, oh, it's just comedy, don't be too PC. Yet now, all of a sudden, this is a great masterwork of anti-racism. And I don't think the purpose of comedy is to really restore society, but it is to reflect it. And I think this is where the film failed most of all, in that it's just, for 2023, I really doubted to myself, is this realistic? There are people who are tone deaf when it comes to race. There are plenty of people like Julia Louis-Dreyfus who are really character Shelley, who can be, with the best intentions, and we'll get onto that, horrifically horrendous and offensive. But I just think to myself, this is a film that maybe if it was released in 2018, 2017, when things were a bit more hot with the Black Lives Matter movement and other social issues, I think this film was just several years too late, post-pandemic. It just felt like it kind of misses zeitgeist here.
I just don't know what crowd they were trying to play for. I think there was humour that was sort of poking fun at the left side of it, like sort of poking fun at the social justice side of it, and then there were obviously jokes, and they were trying to make fun of the right side of it, and the people who sort of do believe these like these horrendous views and stuff. And it's just like, I don't know who you were trying to please. I don't know if they were trying to go for a serious story or just like a parody. I don't know. They didn't sort of nail. I found it hard to work out if they were trying to do like a serious story or like and just comedy intertwined with it, or just, I don't know, just. It was very weird and hard to work out.
Yes, it was. And the end of the film had this kind of commentary that, oh, we're not racist, these two horrible families, but we have relatives who are racist, and they're actually racist, and they're the bad guys. So then the entire film just felt like an entire waste of time. For you to say, I've not done anything bad, all it takes in this film is to say,
sorry.
Oh, but my great aunt is way worse than me, she's horrible. And I think lots of us do, and I'm not talking about myself here, by the way, but I know lots of people who are friends who have full-on racist relatives who are of an older generation. And it is, obviously, they still love the person in many ways, but in many ways they judge them. That's almost a more interesting topic than these middle-aged people who were born in the 1950s, 1960s,
Yeah.
who are really are too old to kind of be of that mindset.
It was just people who were stuck in the past, and they were just clearly stuck in their ideologies, but none of the people felt. I can imagine aspects of these people being real, and obviously it's very clear that the housewife mother, who's kind of the modern housewife mother, who's kind of trying to prove that she's not racist, and in doing so,
Shelley.
Yeah, in doing so, like, puts her foot in it like many times, and then the dad, Eddie Murphy's character, who's like very against his daughter dating a white man. I imagine that happens.
Yes, exactly.
I imagine that happens, but it didn't seem realistic in the way they portrayed that. It just felt very like I said, ominous and very stereotypical of those characters, and very like, alright, like, there wasn't much thought behind it. It was just it wasn't smart. It was just very easy the way we did it, and very
If it was a smartly written comedy, then they could have got some excellent timing in with this awkward, cringe humour, and in a way that's humour that's associated a lot with British people, like with The Office and Ricky Gervais, and they could have made someone more like that type of character who is awful, horrendous, and we are supposed to dislike them. But then this is more the American style of comedy with Shelley and Eddie Murphy. We're just supposed to think they're good but ignorant but stupid people, and they're not bad. They never turn on these characters. So as I was saying, the characters who we dislike are never shown on screen, the actual races. It would have been almost better to have a more bold thing, to have a character who is prejudicial, who is just outright mean or self-centered or only wants her daughter to do this.
Yeah.
And then drive up the cringe and the unlikability, which isn't everyone's taste.
No,
but it could kind of
like work better for this film. Because I also struggled to like. I know they were trying to like Ezra, Jonah Hill's character. I struggled to like him at times as well throughout the film. I didn't really know what sort of character he was trying to be until like very late on. I thought, oh, he's obviously just trying to show that he's part. Not that he's part of the black culture, but just that he understands it more now. But to begin with, I thought, is he trying to poke fun at the left with his podcast jokes and like his ideas, and it's just very hard to understand.
Yeah, no, it was hard to understand his finance career in a job that he never showed up for, yet he somehow had so much money in this film. And this was another thing that I felt was a bit weird, and it's not just this film, in fairness, but when you have these really rich American characters with the huge houses and all the lifestyle and the trappings, and then they have their problems, it does make racism, or this type of racism, seem as a very like middle class problem, and it was just all resolved by the two groups having a nice chat by the end of it, when in reality racism affects the most part, the worst.
It was very quickly resolved as well. Like, it was just like sort of one scene of like the two parents sort of apologising to like their respective daughters or something, and then alright, this problem solved now. It's like, no, you just spent the entire film like showing your issues and showing like, so Eddie Murphy's character who has an issue with his daughter dating a white man, like that. Like, your mindset can't change suddenly because of like, it's just very weird the way they portrayed it, and like like I don't know, it was just Netflix trying to be smart towards its audience, just very like, oh, we get racism, we get it, and like, but I don't know, it just felt very off.
Part of me wondered if this was a very American view of race as well, and their history in that country, and we can all be educated, but I don't think we'll ever understand what the American race system's like. It's like us with our class system or other parallels there, that you kind of have to live in the country to witness it. But the film never went deep on that either. It just showed it from really two wealthy families' point of views who had two kind of millennial children who never grew up in a way, and it was odd because they were in their like mid-late 30s and they were acting
is it
early
like
20s.
Yeah.
I always find that difficult to watch
Yeah,
at
like,
the moment on screen.
Yeah, like I said, I struggled to understand what like who Jonah Hill character was trying to be like. Was he trying to play this sort of young hipstery kind of character, or this sort of not middle aged but young, like sort of late 30s trying to like settle down kind of guy? I like a sort of bit of both, and I like Jonah Hill, but just in this film he's just very unconvincing.
I don't think he sold himself out all in this film as a leading man, and I think this will hurt his career. He's kind of well known for doing small comic roles, like in Wolf of Wall Street, which he is very good at. He's quite good at being an unlikable character, to be honest here. And in this film, it required someone who's a romantic lead who is doing questionable action. Well, him and his girlfriend weren't that questionable, but it needed someone who was flawed, a bit imperfect, but a lovable hero. Same with Amira's character, who's supposed to be lovable, but I didn't understand what her career was. I didn't understand any of her motivations as a character, what she wanted. It is risky to have a love story where the two leads are the main characters, but they're not treated like the main characters, and they really are quite passive characters.
There was no chemistry between them.
No.
They were trying to play like two people who are in love with each other, but there was just every interaction was just like, all right, we're just here to film with each other. We're not here to like. There was no feeling that they were in love with each other. There was no good chemistry between them two.
And for someone who is a funny man, Jonah Hill, we never really saw him worrying her that much with humour after the relationship started. So at that very beginning bit, he kind of hooked her in with humour.
Yeah.
And we're like, yes, she's been dating other guys her dad likes, but they're very plain and boring.
Yeah.
And then with Jonah Hill comes along and he's a funny guy. I was like, okay, I get that. But then he stopped being funny, and she stopped being funny, and then it all became whoa, which is why they did, spoiler alert, they did break up, but we all knew it wasn't a long breakup. And it just, I wouldn't even recommend this film to anyone. I'd say do not watch this, avoid. To me, it's sad if this is Hollywood right now, and they're kind of this offering us this post-woke type of film, post-social movement, post-Black Lives Matter social justice, where they're trying to say, don't be too PC, but also racism's really important. I just think it's a muddled message, and I'd rather watch an Adam Sandler film from the 2000s, like Meet the Zohans, or something like that, which does actually have themes of racism in it.
Yeah.
And it's very crude and crass, but it's funny. It's more of a laugh. I didn't laugh at all during this film. Did you laugh?
There was a brief part, just Eddie in the barbershop, where the humour side of it, when they were trying to get him to take off his hoodie because it's like representative of the area. I think the Crip side of it. I thought, oh, you're wearing the wrong colour hoodie. I laughed at that a little bit. Other than that, I just thought it was a bit cringy. I think I think the film is representative of what high executives at these at Netflix and Amazon. I think this is how they see racism, and this is like just very light-hearted and very like it wasn't really taken seriously at all.
I know. I'd rather just see a film with a mixed, diverse cast that didn't really talk about racism, but at least it showed some diversity in the film itself, than a film that was just so trying hard to tick boxes whilst also making fun of those boxes. It just it didn't work. I would prefer a return to comedies like Knocked Up. Like the Judd Apatow films, but with a diverse cast, because I do think that's a valid criticism of lots of these LA films where they are super wealthy, they're all typically white characters, and they don't really represent a lot of America or a lot of the world. I'd rather have those films with the low stakes.
Like, at least with even though Knocked Up is ridiculous in some aspects, they felt more real, I guess, and they felt more down to earth. Whereas obviously, like me as a white Englishman, I can't relate to these characters at all, and they didn't feel believable in any way whatsoever.
Yeah, no, I think it is a case of with comedy, if it's funny and you've got a good actor, then if you have a diverse cast, then that does more good than doing an unfunny film with a diverse cast, which actually does bad to kind of the future prospects of Hollywood films like this.
It's annoying as well because I quite like Eddie Murphy. Like he's like someone who I grew up watching quite a lot. I was like, did you not read the script before?
I know. I think that was really surprising because I felt to myself he didn't.
Yeah, I feel like he's the type of person to sort of avoid these type of films and sort of maybe not go for more smarter scripts, but because he is someone who's like done like a lot of work. But I just felt this film was beneath. Like,
yeah, and the same with Julia from Veep and also Seinfeld. Yeah. And there's a few actors from Veep were in this film, like small parts. Yeah. So I was kind of hoping they would kind of bring that prestige and quality to it, and just a very intricate, layered script. But this was the complete opposite, where the script, it was really, we all know where the film was going from the start of it. The very easy resolution was probably the worst bit of the whole film. There should have been some sort of lasting side effect of this kind of months-long war, and they rushed so quickly into this engagement with the lack of chemistry, and then they just wanted to get married, and it never felt like, why do you want to get married? Are you in love?
The part where like he's asking Akira's parents for approval to, I was like, okay, this is happening. Like there was no sort of build-up. It's like, okay, this is happening in front of us. There was no tension. It was just things are happening because they're happening. It was very strange.
What's very odd about that is it contradicts himself as someone who works in finance and earns a lot of money, and that was about the awkwardness of kind of little bits of racism, like why are they taking them to this place and not a nice place to do this, which was that was very confusingly done with Jonah Hill's character Ezra. But it just seemed to me that he was kind of still this stoner character underneath it all, who was a bit of a loser, like in
Party Boy kind of
Superbad and Knocked Up in all those films. Yeah, he had so much money, he had a lot going for him. His job is highly privileged just to be a podcaster, so that's now his job, and all of a sudden his podcast went from being very low key to all these high production values, and that takes money too. And the film did imply that, and it said, you know, he would help Amira with her career. Which, what was her career? Do you actually know what her career was?
I don't even remember. Like they didn't really allude to it. Also, like they paid like a lot of attention to what Ezra did, but like I can't even remember what she did. I don't even think they did allude to it. If they did, I don't remember it at all. Like it wasn't really taken seriously.
She was forgotten about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It was unfair because she was like a pretty face. Yeah. And that's all you heard throughout the entire film about her was, oh, she's so beautiful. Which she was. She's very good looking. And that was kind of her way to be funny. She didn't have a chance to be funny herself.
It was like they wanted to push her as like this independent, strong woman, but we didn't really do that in a good way.
Yeah. And he, and then as soon as they mentioned that bit about him helping her career, it falls apart.
Yeah.
They never mention it again. It's that type of film where they would never sustain a plot over two scenes, really, which is terrible.
There's no really meaningful scenes between them that I can remember either. I think. How did you feel about the dinner table scene where the families get together and they're sort of this is like the big conflict scene with families and where all the racism, all the anti-Semitism sort of comes out and the conflict really happens, like the main issues come out. Like, how did you feel about that scene?
In a way, I just feel like I've seen that scene so many times before. So I was the other day watching Meet the Parents and its sequels, which are very funny with Ben Stiller. And they have a similar dynamic, especially in the sequels, of a Jewish and a Christian family coming together. Yeah. They laugh about things that we've heard. These are very like centuries-old jokes that they laugh about. Yeah. And then this one, it just, instead of it being a bit humorous, they went all into the negative. Yeah. Very much pitting Islam and Judaism kind of against each other. Yeah. And it was a kind of a confusing... I just think Meet the Parents and the sequels did it so much better and love it lovingly, because it was saying that here's a waspy family who's a bit stuck up. Here's a Jewish family who are also stuck up. This film could have done that with a Muslim and a Jewish, just being a bit stuck up.
Yeah.
And that's the small stake in comedy, not the super high stake, which is centuries old conflict and
It's very
deep rooted
tight,
racism. It was very tight. I would rather it have been the small stakes where it's like they think Amira's a bit of a cow, you know, that type of thing, which is just more funny and it's more like Friday night dinner type of scenario. Something goes wrong, some slapstick there, than just like this. Oh, is this now like a Wikipedia page about the aggression against both countries
also,
and cultures?
Ezra's dad, I don't get what he was. He just had no role whatsoever.
He was terribly done, and his joke, it was not funny the first time, and then he repeated it at the wedding, and I think they actually thought that we'd be laughing at that.
Yeah. Like,
But I think if you were laughing at that, you'd just be like, why are you ruining your son's and your daughter-in-law's wedding with this kind of tone-deaf, horrible comment? And Shelley, I felt no sympathy at all towards her character.
No, because it's very just... When Shelley and Akira Amira have this confrontation, she also tries to play the victim at one point. I mean, it's like, no, you can't play the victim in this role. Like, you have been not abusing her, but you have been sort of being very racist towards her. And it's just like, no, you can't play the victim in this. Like, oh.
And again, is it realistic? Slightly, but for then some of her character to lack so much social skills, and to me it's not even about the racism, it's about the lack in social skills, that even if you do dislike who your child's going to marry, most people just know how to socialise properly and get through these situations. And also to attend a wedding that does no one like you at that wedding. It's like the characters, no one knew how to be human in that film. They were all kind of like alien robots.
Yeah, I agree. It's very hard to watch at some point. It's just, it was just they were trying to push the same joke over and over again, and it just didn't work whatsoever.
Yeah, and I'm tired as well.